actually have a live class today we're filming from. So we have a group of 12 of us in front of the screen right now that are actually learning SSIS here in Jacksonville, Florida with us. And looks like we have about 700 registered for this session as well. So what we're going to show today is SQL 2012. How is it different than SQL 2008, what you guys are learning right now? And this is part of our SSIS boot camp that are here in Jacksonville right now. So I'm going to skip the slides and just jump right into kind of showing and telling and how is it different. We can get through a lot more that way. And there's quite a few things that these guys here are actually beating their heads in the wall trying to experience this SIS, and these 2012 things actually fix a lot of those things that we're having, we're kind of beating our heads against the wall. The first thing to kind of point out is you'll notice here that I have this OLADB source. Okay, first of all, you'll notice that big deal here. They spent a lot of time working on this version of SQL Server. Didn't really do a whole lot in the latest release, in the 2008 R2 release, but after all that, we now have rounded edges. When take it all in, guys, absorb. It is pretty amazing, I know. But as we look at this, you'll notice when we execute package, we have blue lines now versus little tiny things like that. But let's look at this. We're actually going to cover in this module on this session how we deploy packages, how the DBA's life changed a lot. And what are some of the usability things that have changed for a developer also? That's our goal in this piece. So if I look at this section right here, you'll notice that, first of all, I've got reseller name right here. So I've got a column that is a legacy column, and I want to change the table name, change this new area right here. I want to change it to company name now. Traditionally in SSIS, to make those kind of changes, it's going to blow up all my environment. It's going to really cause a big issue. You'll also notice down here the derived column transform that I'm using reseller name, not company name. And so what these guys in the class are experiencing is as they disconnect this stuff right here, as they disconnect this line and connect it up to something else, it usually blows up in SSIS. Like a union all transform, they got to drop and recreate. They got to do all sorts of stuff in the derived column transform. All the code is now gone. But in this case, you're seeing this red line right here. So I can actually right-click on that and say Resolve References. And it's going to say, all right, your old name was company name. Your new name is reseller name, or vice versa, excuse me. And as I drag these down, okay.
Hey, Brian.
Yes, ma'am.
I've got a couple people saying that they can't see your screen and that it's saying that the organizer is muted.
I'm not sure. Let me actually go to screen questions here. I see a poll. Have you closed the poll yet? I can see this fine. I have a whole bunch of people saying they see everything fine too. So I think it must be.
Yep.
Yep. A whole bunch of people saying they see fine. No problems here. No problems here. Poll's gone. Okay, so I think we're okay.
All right. Good. Thanks.
All right. No problem. So I dragged down the column from the source and then one from destination. So it was company name. Now it was reseller name. Now it's company name. So when I hit OK, it fixes all of my reference issues. I can go to my derived column and actually recoded all my derived column code, and then also my union all does not have to be dropped and recreated. So all those kind of things that you guys are experiencing in the class right now, the take a tack hammer to your head things have actually been fixed now in that case. Looking at this package over here, one of the things we're actually covering this morning are containers. And the nice thing about containers is the ability to kind of group things together logically. So one thing I can do in SSIS is the data flow in this case. And I've got a lot of logic right here. This block of code right here, for example, is a lot of logic. I could right-click on that and say group, and it kind of creates a logical group inside the data flow also. Much like a container, but it's not quite a container. It's you can relate things to it, out of it, doesn't matter. But it allows you to kind of like create this logical grouping of tasks and kind of bundle them all together. One thing that I really like also from the usability side is if I accidentally delete a component, I can just do a quick undo, 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 and I'm back to where I was before. That's been missing. It's one of those things that you're like, I can't believe they didn't have before things. But along the same lines, the reason why they're able to do that is the XML has been cleaned. So if I right-click to view code, the XML has been cleaned up now, so I can actually do things like differencing and tell what lines of code are different between this package and the one in production. So it allows you kind of look at that and tell differences. Okay, so lots of good stuff on the usability side, but now let's get on the DBA side now. Okay, so you'll notice here up top, I mentioned the class here that the projects actually mean something now. Well, you'll see I have a project name called Expedition Denali right here. And in that project, we have lists of packages, of course, but notice this connection manager option right here. Now, in SQL 28, it's called data sources. Now it's called connection managers. The biggest difference is this actually means something now. So when I right-click and say New Connection Manager up top, and I kind of walk through creating a connection to just OADB, I'll pick a random source here. Looks good. And when I hit OK, it actually creates a connection automatically down below. So if I rename it here to just Brian was here, hit enter, it changes it all throughout this as well. Also, when I create a brand new package, everything's all there. So Brian was here is already there. I don't have to go through and create all those connections now. They're just already automatically there. So your common connections, because this project means something, your common connections go in the project, and they automatically trickle down to every package. It's really handy. So you'll also notice that there is, because the project means something, I'm in a new mode right now. It's called the project deployment model. And we haven't really covered this in class yet, but there's two modes to deploying packages in 2012. In 2008, we basically deploy a package at a time, one at a time, kind of deploying these packages. Well, in 2012, we have to deploy the whole project now. So it's a whole unit of work, much like a C# project or creating a DLL file almost. So when we compile this, we're basically compiling a program and we're sending the whole program to the server, not just one little package here. So in 2012, you have both modes, the project mode, which is what I'm in here, and we also have the old mode called the package deployment model. Now this is a DBA decision typically that you would make. Now right now the DBAs put me, or the developers put me in the package or the project deployment model, but I could revert that back if I wanted to at any time also. The package deployment model is what we have in 2008 or 2005, where we have the SSIS service, we deploy to the MSDB database and the file system. In 2012 though, there is no, in the new mode, there is no version of the MSDB or file system, which we'll cover later tomorrow. So to deploy, you just right-click and you hit deploy. And before, that was a pretty big challenge to deploy packages to QA and to production. It took a long time to usually do. How are we doing questions right now? A lot of people saying
no questions so far, Brian.
Nice. No questions. All right,
nope.
Cool. I'm looking at this. Looks like we're good. Yep. All right. So the biggest thing so far is there's two deployment models, of course, and that's a DBA decision to kind of talk with the developer. Now, if I wanted to deploy packages now, I want to first go over to here to my Management Studio, and I want to create. You'll notice that yes, I can connect to integration services right here in Management Studio, but this is for legacy stuff. We don't do that now for the new stuff. Instead, SSIS is now part of the database engine.